Good morning, everybody. Um, I had planned to go through a book this morning called The Safe King. And last night, as I was getting ready to go to bed, um, going through emails and stuff, the uh, the topic was taken back. Um, Specifically said not to do that one today. Um, he instead put it on me to speak about what it looks like to surrender. Um, there have been a myriad of people that have been inboxing me about the inability that they have to give up, to turn fully, that they can't feel um, the presence of God. They don't know what it's supposed to mean. They have no idea what it's like. What do you do? How do I know I'm saved? All that has been the reoccurring theme in a couple of inboxes. And he specifically recalled the Safe King topic and asked me to speak about that. So I'm going to try and break down a couple of things for people who may not be your background might be littered with a whole bunch of things that make it difficult for you to understand God. Your history might be flooded with things that are so vile that you don't believe that you will ever hear directly from God. You don't know what that even is. You don't even know where to begin. You have no concept of where to go. You're in a fog, you're lost, you're confused, you are angry. Um, the whole concept of God is a confusion for you. And you've gone through so many things that have told you one thing, and then you hear another contradictory thing, and then you hear another one and another one. And before too long, you just quit trying to figure it out. So I want to address you particularly, those people particularly, of how to break off those ties. Um, Firstly, you need to understand that men do not accurately reflect God, and constantly looking to anything to do with men to explain God, to reflect God fully, to manifest God is going to fail you. Even the best among us don't get it expressed 100% right. And that's directly because of the nature that we live in, housed in physically. You could grasp the concept of sinning no more all you want, but a true reflection of God does not get to you by another human being. It gets to you by God. And that is, I think, where we end up messing a lot of our walk up is by hinging our own walk on what we see other people doing. And then we also judge God based on what we see other people doing. And thereby putting on God something that he never did, but holding him to that act and then judging him on that act and thereby living our life according to a lie. We exalt preachers, we exalt teachers, we exalt senators, doctors, lawyers, policemen. We look for something tangible, and that's understandable to try and find something you can grasp, something you can see. But then you run into a brick wall of defeat sometimes when you can't accomplish some of the things that you see other people doing. Some people's walk is just really rock solid, and then you see yours, and you're like, "What the like?" So the first thing you have to come to terms with is this: there is a God that has the capability to make Himself known to you. He does not need man's intervention to make Himself known to you. He is not limited by your history. He's not limited by your dislike of Him. He's not limited by your belief in what He can do. He's not limited in the amount of evil you've done. He's not limited in the amount of good you've done. He's not limited. He's not limited. He is not limited. I want to make sure I say He is not limited. However, you can definitely feel limited on behalf of Him. Like you can put your own limitations on God and say, well, He won't ever reach me here, or He can't reach me here, or I will never understand how He does what, and I will never get this. And while I understand your dilemma, there has to come a point, just like with every child, there has to come a point where you move from a being told what's right and wrong to seeing it for what it is. There comes a spot where that happens. And some of it might come about because you've experienced the flip side to life, like you've gone through demonic possessions, or you've gone through Satan worshiping, or you've gone through um, complete atheism, or you've gone through the church itself and then removed yourself from the church, or you've gone through even being a pulpit minister and you've pulled back. And then you gauge everything else in your life around the mishaps, and you judge God on the mishaps of your life. You judge God as though He caused or allowed these things to take place because He doesn't want anything to do with you. You start to, and I'm saying this out of my own, where I've been. And what you go through is this phase of, either way it goes, I don't care anymore. And then you split. Either you hate Him or you become ambiguous to Him. It just, whatever. And there are more people who are in that whatever phase of God. Charles, whether or not we are able to or supposed to does not stop us from doing it. Even God said that mankind is folly. Like our way is folly. So folly in and of itself will lead us to compare ourselves to an ever living God. As stupid as it is, we still do it. So while we may think we ought not to, does not stop people from doing it because man's way is folly. By nature, the way is folly. And folly goes every which way in complete opposition to God, even to the point of comparison of our life to God's life. So whether it should happen is irrelevant to the fact that it does. It just does. We just do. Why do you think people say they get hurt by the church? I don't go to church anymore because the church hurt me. Oh, I don't follow God anymore because the pastor hurt me. I don't do this because sister so and so did that to me. They automatically assign God to what they see in man because they're not looking to God for the answer, they're looking to man for the answer. They're looking to men to portray God to them instead of seeking the Spirit to have God portrayed through them. And having that one-on-one relation, they have put their relationship of God on someone else's shoulders and are walking with it as though that should be their walk. They expect someone else to walk on their behalf. And then there are many other preachers and pastors and brothers and sisters who will purposefully take that mantle on them and hope everybody else follows them. There are tons that do that. So this particular conversation is for those who feel distant, feel angry, have been hurt, think that there is no real way back to God or even to God. And while the word itself can give you a lot of information, if you're starting at a point where you don't believe the book, me quoting it, it's not going to make a difference to you. It's simply not. What I can tell you is what I know for a fact about him. Aside from the book, aside from the translation, I can tell you unequivocally what I know about God. And so I want you, if you're in a place where you are hopeless, helpless, angry, mad, distant, empty, numb, have nothing to do with her. She's not supposed to be one anyway, so have nothing to do with her. It's really that simple. You have your relationship with God, and that's all that matters. You don't need to deal with anybody that's a pastor of any kind to have a relationship with God. That's not how this works. They're supposed to be stewards, which means their heart is supposed to be one of a servant. And if they're not one of a servant, then have nothing to do with them. It's really that simple. It's not rocket science. I think we make it rocket science. because we want to believe that something is right when it's not. Um, saw a new thing floating around, and my wife sent it to me, and it's a picture of um, two men, Adam and Steve, of people trying to negate God, okay, and the whole creation concept. And in their effort to negate God, they're willing to throw even their own belief under the table. Their theory is that if he took a rib from Adam, he could only make two males. He couldn't make a female, because they go on to say that the chromosomes and the DNA would yield a male, not a female. So in essence, they're telling you that there's an identifiable difference between men and women, right? I bring that topic up for this reason. When you follow men to get your identification of who God is, it will vary from every person to person to person if they're giving you their version of God. They'll base it on what they've been through, which is understandable. And then they'll also base it on how many blessings they've gotten from him. Okay. And the way you can tell a lot of the times that they're seeking to craft God in their own mindset is that they'll harp on one of two things. They'll either harp on how amazing he is only, or they'll harp on how many trials he's brought them out of. But in their talking about how amazing he is, it's always on the aspect of how many blessings they've gotten from him. When they talk about the goodness of God, they're always talking about the goodness based on blessing. And when they talk about how bad God is, they always talk about the curses. So in cases like this, they will harp on all the negativity that they can possibly yield from a disbelief in God, right? So you have a dichotomy. So somewhere in the middle, there's a truth. Does God bless? Yeah. Does he curse? Yes. So where's the real? I want to propose something to you. And I just want you to try and think about it carefully, even after we're done having a discussion. And I want you to really think about this. God does not, I will say it again, God does not change because of our descriptors of him. His motives and his actions do not change because of our descriptors of him. Our viewpoint of God is irrelevant to who he is. It doesn't matter what you believe God is. There is a version out there of God that's immovable, unchanging, and factual outside of your accepting it. He has the effect upon us, not the other way around. Okay. He has effect upon us. We don't have an effect upon God. The church bullying you, the church hurting you, is in no way, form, or fashion an expression of God Himself. There is a reason why He wants to have a one on one relationship with you. The reason that wants to be the case and needs to be the case is so that nothing else can affect what you know about Him. Nothing else can affect it. Not your history, not your present, not people, not the church, not the pastor. None of that will affect who He is and does not affect who He is. Hence why He wants you to have a one on one relationship. So, how do you get to that level? How does one achieve this so called relationship with something that you may think doesn't exist? So, let's start with the it don't exist. So, how can I have it? You said it. If it doesn't exist, then you can't have it. It doesn't mean it's not there. It just means you can't have it. You see, he's also not a bully. I'm going to tell you some facts about him only because they're factual, not because I feel they're factual. They're factual. He is a forgiving God. There have been scores upon scores of men and women in time that have done all sorts of egregious things. And quite a few of them are listed in the book that people don't want to read, okay? Touched by man's hands or whatever, but there are tons of them that have lived, that have done some ridiculously awful things and have encountered God and have been forever changed. I don't mean that they fight the old person that they were. I mean they have been forever changed. There was no reverting back to anything. They were forever changed. So he's a forgiving God, but he's also a righteous God, which means that when a punishment's enacted, it's enacted. Just ask David. So now you ask yourself, well, that seems kind of harsh that you're telling me that he's a forgiving God, but still will damn me to hell for things I've done in life. Yes. Yes. That's exactly what I'm saying. You see, we have a propensity to bring one or two things, big things to God and say that's what we brought. I want you to change me from uh, talking to ghosts to talking to you. Or I want you to stop me from being a cold-blooded killer on the streets and save me. We look at this macro thing. That's what God should stop me from is these macro events. And then we ignore small things. We don't take them to God because we see us as having just a few problems before we say we just have a few problems. I only have a few problems, or I have a big problem, and that's what I really need addressed is that big problem. Or I just have a few small ones, and that's where my real problem lies. We want to identify our problem. We want to tell, again, this comes back. We want to tell God what about us is worth saving And what about us is worth put to death. We want to dictate a part of us as being salvageable, and the other part as being that needs to go. So we end up with this dichotomy in our life, right? So we find that we give up on something big. So we give up something big. And you still find it coming back to tug on you like you want to keep going back to it, right? You ever had this where you think you've given up something that was a real vice in your life, a big vice in your mind was a big vice. And you have a good couple of months, and then you get this pull to go back to it. Something snaps somewhere in another portion of your life, and then that's the first thing you go back to, or you feel the pull to go back to. You ever had that happen? Or say you had um a viewpoint about God, and you thought you changed your views about it, and then something happens and you're like feel yourself going back to that view about God. If you've ever had that happen, then you're going to understand what I'm going to say next. You could be in a whole tub of warm water, and you could consider your body submerged, right? You're in the water. And then and the water is super warm, like nice 102 degrees warm, and it's consistent, right? Then you pull your hands out of the water and put it on the edge of the tub, and then you raise your feet so your knees are above the water line. And for some reason, the water doesn't feel as warm. It just doesn't feel warm anymore. It's like, man, why is it so cold still? You look at the temperature, it's still 102, but man, it's cold. Like I'm feeling cold, but I'm in the warm water. So the first thing you do is turn up the heat. You think that's going to help. You turn on the heat, right? Then you get an even more brilliant idea because it's still cold. You get up out the water to go turn on the heat in the bathroom. You say, that will equalize everything. Now I can be warm. So then someone comes into the bathroom and you tell them, man, it just can't seem to get warm in this water. And they look at you and they said, so you're trying to get warm? Why is your knee above the water and your hands outside of it? Did you not realize that that's a point where cold air hits and the rest of your body will feel it? Yeah, but I turned the heat up in the room and I turned the water up even higher. So it should be, but your knees are still out of the water and your hands are still out of the water. So you're going to feel colder than you should if you just submerge yourself in the water. So that person leaves. And in your head, you're thinking, that's so dumb. I'm in the water. The majority of me is in the water. And then on a whim, you think you're going to try this dumb thing and just submerge your knees. And you instantly realize that it got warmer for you. And then you put your hands in the water and it got even warmer for you. And then you do the brilliant thing and just dip your head all the way under and stay there for a bit and come back up. And then you say, huh, then you get a towel, you wet the towel, keep the towel in the wet part, and then you just lean back so that your hair is completely into the hot water. Was it the water's fault that you were cold? Was it the water's fault? Did the water lose any heat? Did the water cause you to be cold? Did you need to go address the water to get warmer? No, you decided to do that without thinking that you might have been the problem. Then you left the water altogether to go adjust a different heat source to compensate for your inability to think that maybe I should be submerged under the whole thing. You get up out of the warm water to traverse where the actual cold is, to go find a different heat source that's nothing like the water, but it's warm, only to go back into the water, experience shock, leave your knees still out and your hands, and still expect to feel all the effects of the water all over your body because you want it your way. The water hasn't changed properties. The water hasn't lost any heat. The water is just there waiting for you to submerge yourself to experience the effects of the water. You see, we come to God, and this is how we approach Him. God, my feet are cold. I really want my feet warm. That's the only part of me that's cold. And you put your feet in the water. And before too long, your feet are so nice and warm that the rest of your body starts feeling cold. Then you get mad at God because your feet are warm, but everything else around you seems to be just going to pot. Then some of us come and say, my lower half is cold, God, and I need to warm up. So you go and sit in the tub. And your upper body is shivering. The bottom half of you is, man, warm. And you get mad at the water for it not warming the rest of you up. Some of us go in and we sit with the knees above the water and hands out, and then we go find other places to warm up the rest. And we find all these peripheral things. And we find a church here, and we find a brother there, and we find a book here, and a self-help this and a self-help that. And we jump into all these things. Oh, I'm going to find the occult here, and I'm going to. And then we'll hear somebody say, well, you know, it might be the water. You need to turn the water up, heat some more. Or better yet, just lower the temperature of the water so that the water temperature will be like your body and you won't know what warm or cold is. Because in your mind, the problem isn't you. The problem has to be something else. And in your mind, you just have a big problem to deal with or a small problem to deal with. And God should adjust himself to deal with the small problems to make you feel better, or deal with the big problem to make you feel better and make you believe that now you are saved and now you know God. We don't want to accept the fact that we have nothing good to offer him. And I mean nothing. When I say zero, zero to offer God. You got nothing to offer him. He's not trying to fix one or two portions of your life. He's not trying to adjust one or two things in your mind. He's not trying to just mask a problem. He's replacing you. Your old self or your new self or your current self or your past self, your whatever situation you grew up in, whatever might have happened to you, whatever excuse you give yourself to either not find him or to not fully give yourself over to him is inconsequential compared to what he's actually trying to do. He is not trying to fix you. You're not a dilapidated house that's he's trying to remodel. You're a dilapidated house that he's trying to raise. He has to scrap it, breaks it down, smashes it, removes it, clears the ground, brand new topsoil, brand new grass, brand new building. He doesn't want any of your old problems. And the more you think to yourself that, well, I'm empty, that's how you will stay. I teach voice lessons, okay? So, and I teach MMA classes. And there are two things I don't allow in my class. The word can't and quitting before I say stop. I don't allow those two things in my class. I go from a happy go lucky person that everyone thinks, oh, he'll be a great person to be around and happy jokes all the time, to somebody that they don't necessarily like. My teacher mode takes over. And I don't allow them to use the word can't. So when I say sing this and they tell me I can't, I say, okay, stop right there. Because if you start saying that, you know what will happen? The same thing you say can't happen. Mixed martial arts, 2%. Mixed martial arts. When you say, I can't do it, you've automatically told yourself that you're not going to do it. You're making my job harder. Because when I tell you after hearing now, I'm the one that you came to for voice lessons because you believe I can sing. If you genuinely believe that I can sing to the point where you've come to me to teach you how to sing, and I am hearing you and told you to do something, it can only mean one thing. I want to hear you do it. Whether or not you accomplish it is irrelevant to what I'm asking you to do. But you never attempting it tells me one very important thing. You do not believe that I have what you need. You do not believe, even though you say it by coming to me for voice lessons, that I can give you anything that you need. That's in essence what you're telling me. So now let's put it to the God factor. You going to God and saying, I cannot feel, or I cannot see the way, and leaving it there. I can't hear you. You will not be listening for him. You won't be listening to him. You won't be hearing. You cannot. You said it. But here's a good thing. That's not true. That's not true. of God, I mean, it's not true. Because either you're coming to Him, listen carefully, either you are going to God believing that He is who He says He is, or you're going to God believing who you say He is. And if you're going to Him believing who you say He is, rest assured that you will find every fallacy possible to ascribe to Him in order to make yourself feel warranted in your disbelief. Because in essence, you're talking to yourself and not Him. If you're going to go to God, and if you really are in a desirable spot to know God, not your version of God, not your idea of God, not someone else's thoughts of God, to know God Himself, the one, the only one, the Creator Himself. If that is your goal, leave whatever you think you know about Him at the door. Leave whatever you want Him to do at the door. Leave all of that and just go to Him and ask Him directly to present Him. You just want Him, nothing else, Him. Don't go to Him saying, well, I have this problem and I have this problem, because you don't know how to self diagnose. You are a horrible doctor. You are simply the worst at diagnosing yourself. The worst. You have zero clue how small and infinitesimal you are compared to God and how much crap you actually bring before God. You are a horrible self diagnoser. We are notorious for bringing ourselves and saying, well, you know, God, I have a big problem with this, but I sing. Thank you, Annie. I sing, so you can use that. You know, God, I'm really good with people, so you can use that. You know, God, I have a history in this and that, so you can use that. I have a degree in this and this and that. You can use that. When you go with your prerequisites before God, you are not going before God. You're going before yourself and hoping that in some way, shape, and form, something works out to reflect your version of God in your life. And so you can continue walking in your own way and call it Christianity. Some of us have a propensity to believe that what we have, God needs. That's why He reaches out to some people more than others, is because they must have something that He needs more than He has than I have for Him. And I've also heard this in inbox messaging. Why is it that God can't use me? Why is it this and why? He used fishermen to influence the whole world. If you know anything about fishermen, they're not the brightest by man's standard. You may find a savant in them once in a while, but you are not going to find a rocket scientist that picks up fishing. He used fishermen to influence the entire globe. That's what he did. He used fishermen. He does not need your power. He does not need your intelligence. He does not need your strength. He doesn't need any of it. He picked David, the smallest runt of the entire litter. He picked David. He picked Paul. He picked. And when Paul got struck down off of that donkey, he did not say, "Hey, I was pretty good at doing this and this and this. Just tell me what you want me to do. Master, tell me. Just tell me where you want me to go, what you want me to do. Just tell me. I'm doing it. Whatever it is." There was no, "I may not be capable of, I'm doing it." There have been people that fought him, like Moses. Go and talk to, I can't talk to Pharaoh, man. I can't talk to Pharaoh because I have I don't talk right. I can't do it. Go to Pharaoh. See that, and the thing about Moses, he never let go of his stubbornness. He was withheld from the promised land for exactly that. I can't, I can't, I can't, or I won't. He kept his knees out the water. And he saw things that some of us will never see. And he still kept his knees out the water. So, what makes you think that if you just saw this one thing, or you just saw this one thing, that that would be it? If you go into this whole relationship with your knees out the water, any and all doubt is a seed for you to fall and not follow. Every seed of doubt, every one of them. There is a verse that negates all of your versions of God in one fell swoop. It's in Hebrews. Without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who approaches him must believe that he exists and that he is a rewarder of those who earnestly seek him. Let me put it to you in a different way. For anyone who comes to God must believe that he is. He is. Not is what you say, not is what you believe, that he is. Cut dry is. And faith does not require you to see him do anything. Faith requires you to know that he does. Faith requires you to know that he will. Faith requires you to know that he won't. And faith will also have you know for a fact that regardless of all of that, he still is. He does not have to prove himself. He does not have to, and even though he does, but he doesn't have to. He does not have to back himself up. He doesn't have to qualify himself. He doesn't have to give you 15 million different signs so you can believe fully. He doesn't have to do anything. He is. He just is. This is why faith is difficult for some to get. And if you're in this place where faith is a hard thing for you to grasp, if God is a hard concept for you to come to terms with, if you feel as though you're so distant from Him, is because you are. There is something, there is something you are holding on to. And you know full well what it is. I don't want to hear any more statements of, I don't know why I can't get through. You know why. You know why. We like to pretend that we don't, but we know because we are so hell bent, literally hell bent, on trying to keep something of ourselves, some semblance of who we think we are in an effort to please God. And then we want to hold on to something so egregious that we've done. Oh, he can't forgive that. That's why I can't feel it, because he won't forgive that. Even if I were to bring that to him, he won't forgive that. I have to keep that hidden. He already knows. The sacrifice was already made for you. The sacrifice of Jesus was already made, and he knew all things about you. Everything. And the sacrifice and the blood can still cover it. But you have to bring it. You have to see your inability, your inconsequential nature, your minuscule self before the ever living God. You have to see that nothing you've done, good or bad, changes the sacrifice. You have to see that nothing you can offer him changes who he is. You have to see that you do not affect God. You don't. You have searched me, O God, and know me. You know my sitting down and my rising up. You understand my thought from afar. You sift my path and my lying down, and know well all my ways. There is not a word on my tongue, but see, God, you know it all. You have closed me in behind and before, and you laid your hand upon me. Knowledge too wondrous for me is too high. I am unable to reach it. There isn't anything about you that he doesn't know. Stop trying to be God and tell him what he doesn't and does know about you. What's salvageable because nothing is, and what's not salvageable because everything is. Stop trying to tell him that you only have a few problems. Stop trying to tell him, I have this big problem. You are the problem. Everything outside of him is the problem. Every act you've ever done outside of him is the problem. Big, small, indifferent, all of them are against him, and that's the problem. You have a million little foxes, and then you have some ridiculously large giants, and all of them are the problem. Your callousness towards him is the problem. Your indifference towards him is the problem. Your disdain towards him is the problem. Your disbelief is the problem. Your partial belief is the problem. Your judging of him is the problem. You are the problem, which is why he's asked you to just die. And I don't mean physically. I know our brains are bigger than that, and we have to stop resorting to childish excuses about, oh, you're telling me I should die physically. If you're that slow, then I'm sorry. I don't think I can help you. But the majority of us that even say that, you're trying to be facetious. If you want real change, let's actually reason like some adults here. Okay, let's reason like adults for a minute. You know full well, you know full well when there's something going on that you know for a fact you shouldn't have going on. And you know full well that you don't want to give it up. So you focus on something that you think you can give up that's big enough and hope that that will be enough to suffice God. You figure that that small thing that you don't want to let go of can be overlooked. You want to hold on to it so bad because, and this could be good or bad. You hold on to it as a reason to keep judging God because that's what you're doing. You're telling him that he is not sufficient enough to do what needs done. So, in essence, you don't believe he is. You could believe he was, and he might yet be, but he's not, is. That's what's keeping you. It has nothing to do with what someone did to you. It has nothing to do with how big your sin is or how small your sin is. You don't want to relinquish it because you have decided, you've self diagnosed, and you have told God that this thing that I hold on to is bigger than you, and you can't have that, or there's no way you can move that. Knowledge too wondrous for me. It is high. I am unable to reach it. Now, this is where, thank you, Sarah. This is where some of us were. And I want to talk directly to Karen if you're in the room and you're just not typing in. I want to talk directly to you. Thank you for the inbox and for really wanting to relinquish what you have going on. But these next verses are specifically for where you are. Hands down, specifically for where you are. And if you really want to encounter God, you have to understand these next few verses. Okay, you have to. Where can I go from your spirit? Or where would I flee from your face? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. I take the wings of the morning. I dwell in the utmost parts of the sea. There too your hand will lead me, and your right hand hold me. If I say darkness shall overcome me, then night would be as light. Even darkness is not dark to you, but night shines as day, as darkness so is light. For you possessed my kidneys, you have covered me in my mother's womb. I give thanks to you, for I am awesomely and wondrously made. Wondrous are your works, and my being knows it well. My bones are not concealed from you when I was shaped in a hidden place, knit together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body, and in your book all of them are written. The days were formed while none was among them. How precious are your thoughts to me, Elohim. How great has been the sum of them. If I should count them, they would be more than the sand. When I wake up, I am still with you. Nothing of your past, nothing of your present, nothing of your future affects who who God is. None of it. Not your disbelief, not your belief, not your submission, not your rebellion. None of it defines God. It may affect how you see him, but it doesn't affect who he is. You can be cold, you can be unfeeling, you can be lost, you can be torn, you can be all of that. And it does not change who God is. And what God wants is surrender. Full, unabandoned surrender. Just give it up. Everything. And I don't mean part, everything. Big, small, the unknown, hidden places, the furthest part of the sea, the darkness, the light, all of it. Things you consider good, things you consider bad, all of it. Give it all up. Either you really want freedom from where you are or you don't. Either you really, really want and are done. If you are done with being distant, with being cold, with being numb, you have to give all of it up. You are not worth saving in pieces. You're not worth salvaging. You need to die. And when you are dead, every aspect of you stops functioning. Your desires, your wants, your skill sets, all of it dies. That's why you can't bring anything to him. That is why it's filthy rags. That's why you have nothing to offer him. That's why Jesus had to die. You don't have anything to bring to the table. You don't. Whatever you did in your past, whatever you did, is inconsequential to the saving power that he offers. He has a whole new route for you to walk. He has a whole new journey for you to experience. He has a whole new life for you to live. You cannot bring the things of death into that life. You cannot. You cannot. You can't. You can't. You can't. You can't. You can't. You can't Frankenstein this thing. Thank you, Eddie. You can't Frankenstein it. Die. Callousness, coldness die. Unfeeling dies. He can't resurrect something that you don't put to death. He can't. It's not about that. He's not trying to bring your old self back to life. You're dying to you and coming to life in Him. You give it all up. You go to Him and you said, I'm done. I'm done. Has anything worked for you? Thinking the way you think? Let's put it this way. You're quite content to go through the motion of I'm cold and I'm distant and I'm this and I'm this day in, day out. You speak this over yourself all the time. You invest your energy in seeing how lost you are, while at the same time refusing to invest the same amount of energy in how found He says you are. You don't invest the energy in telling Him, I know I am nothing before you. I am nothing before you. And I acknowledge I am nothing before you. I bring nothing to the table. And all I want is for that to be gone and to have your life. Not mine, not my wishes, not my wants, not my urges. What you are offering is what I want. Give up this pursuit. Give it up. You're not going to find God in actions. You're going to find Him in surrender. You're not going to find Him in holding on to your good nature. You're going to find Him in giving it all up. When you come to God and you lay it all bare and you confess that you have been unable to see Him for who He is, and you ask Him to forgive your unbelief, like Thomas did, and you ask Him to slay you, you ask Him to put every bit of the old man to death, you find that quiet place and you stay there until you stay. You stay. If this is something you really mean, listen to me carefully. Mankind is willing to work overtime for money. Mankind is willing to go to the gym to get the body they want. They're willing to eat right for the things that they want. They're willing to do a whole bunch of stuff for what they want. They'll sacrifice things and people and friendships for what they want. But they won't do the same for God. We will spend hours watching football. We won't spend but an hour with Him. We want a breakthrough. We want change. We want to be slayed. We want to find the Holy Spirit. We want fire. And you give Him 10 minutes to do it. I'm always reminded of the movie The Gray. If you've never seen The Gray, it's an interesting movie. Liam Neeson. They're in this remote tundra in the Antarctic, and they're doing oil rigging. And he is a sniper that protects the compound from wolves. So whenever they come around, he pops them, make sure that the wolf doesn't just come in and kill people. So they're on furlough, and they have to leave this facility to go back to people, you know. And so they're trying to go back. It's a big snowstorm. and the engines are just frozen over and they're trying to get it brushed off and cleaned off so the plane can actually get moving. He's a drinker. He lost his wife to cancer, so he's in despair. He's in despair. He's in a very dark place and he wants to kill himself. He's trying to find ways to commit suicide, but he can't bring himself to fully do it. The plane takes off and they crash. 80% of the people on board die right away. They found a few others that die as they find them. So there were about 8 or so that lived. Quite a few of them with pretty bad injuries. And throughout the movie, the wolves keep picking them off because they crashed right in the middle of their territory. And as they try to progress to a different location and run away, they keep going deeper and deeper into the den. They think they're escaping when they're actually the wolves are wrangling them into their vicinity. So they're more dense, they're more dangerous, and they have less resources. Liam and 3 other guys make it to nearly the end of the movie. One guy has a broken leg, the other guy is fairly well, and Liam is the strongest of them. They get to this riverbed. The one with the broken leg sits down and says, I haven't done anything with my life. I'm just done. And he dies there, sits down, watches the sunrise, and dies. They're walking along the riverbank, and the other guy slips and falls into the water, and it's cascading him through the ravine, and his leg is stuck in the water while he's pinned under a branch. And so Liam tries to get in to try and pull him up, but as he pulls, the leg just locks tighter in that spot where the leg is stuck in the rock, and he's underwater. So Liam watches him die. He gets out the water, crawls to the bank, and he sits down. And he starts to scream at God. He says, where are you? I'm calling on you. Answer me. He cusses at him. Now, mind you, the movie's almost over. He has spent hours and days running from a wolf, losing people left, right, and center. Now he's alone, and he's sitting on the bank screaming at God for help. No more than 10 seconds, 15 seconds later, he quits and says, fine, I'll do it myself. If that's not the epitome of current day searching for God, I don't know what is. You spend your whole life running from an enemy, unseen, in the dark, people you know getting picked off. You're cold, you're alone. And then, after all your life, you spend 5 minutes screaming out to God, and when he doesn't answer, he doesn't exist or he doesn't care. Because you don't really want freedom from it. I'm sorry to tell you, if this was something that you really, and I mean really, really, really know you had to have, nothing will pull you away from the request. You wouldn't leave until it was answered. Because it means that much to you. You have just witnessed something egregious happen to people, to yourself. You are in a cold, dank place. You've not talked to him at all your whole life, and then you give him 5 minutes to respond because you're that big of a deal? that he has to operate on your time. And now that you're ready, because you're in dire straits, that he must jump because you say jump? When the only reason you're trying to have him jump is because you're in despair, not because you want him, but because you're in despair. It's a great catalyst. It's a great catalyst. Despair is a great place to start to want him. You have to want him for who he is, not for what he can give you. Peace is a part of who he is. Joy is who he is. Relief is who he is. Forgiveness is who he is, not what he gives. He is all those things. And unless you're willing to go to God for who he is and not for who you want him to be, you're not going to find him. You're not going to find him. I'm going to tell you now, I understand, though. I understand the not wanting to give up things. Because sometimes we can become a victim of victimhood and actually become more enamored with our situation than the relief from it. We can become so happy about the fact that we need God that we stop needing God. Now we live a whole life of saying, I need, but never go to him because we like saying we need him. And we never move from I need him to I have him. Yeah, we need him. And he's giving you a way to have him. I don't know who needs to hear it, but I know, Karen, listen carefully. And whoever else might be in Karen's boat. Your coldness, your emptiness, all of that is stuff that you are holding on to. You have the power to relinquish it. It is only existing because you do not have him. And the only way to have him is to let go of what you have now. Not ask him to remove it and leave the rest of the crap there. You have to die to everything that you have going on, all of it, and be replaced with him. There's no deficit there. This is not a removal process. He's not going to take away the cold and take away the distance. He has to take away you and replace you with him. I would ask that you just go to him and tell him, do what needs doing. I don't care what needs doing. Do what needs doing. And you stay there until it's done. If it means as much as you say it means, stay until it's done. There was a story in the Bible about a persistent woman coming to a judge. and she needed some relief from people who were tormenting her. And she kept going, 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 and he kept getting more and more. Why you keep going? And she kept going, and she kept going, and she kept going, and finally he gave her the relief she wanted. And our God is not like that king. He won't get frustrated with your coming, but he will give you once he sees that you are really about that. You have to be in full surrender in every aspect, in every way, in order to taste. You have to. And this holding on to I'm cold and I'm distant is you telling God that he cannot surpass that. And he won't surpass it because you're not giving it up. If you want the blessing of his life, pursue him. He's already opened the door. Walk through. Tomorrow we'll be talking about pride. And a lot of times we think pride is a I love me. Pride could also be I hate me. Pride is also depression. So we'll talk about pride. Pride isn't always thinking you're the best. Pride is also thinking you're the worst. Um, in any case, if you are in a place where God is not your all, God is not who he says he is in your world, take some time today and relinquish. See if there's any wicked way in me and lead me into life everlasting. Ask him to search you. Ask him to. This has nothing to do with God's love for you, okay? I want you to understand this. It was his love that compelled the cross. It was his love that gave the opening for you to even go to him. That was love. Love was never the problem. He is love. Love is never the problem. Your accepting of it is. Your criteria on love is always going to be the problem. Your view of his love will be the problem. Your thought of what you think love is the problem. But he is not the problem. And love is not the problem. And your sin is not so great that he cannot overcome it. Your place is not so far away that he can't reach you. I left the email address there again. Earl, I still ain't got your email. You said you were going to do something. I still ain't got it. You got 1 day left. If you don't get it to me today, I ain't doing it. So just want people to know. Okay, I put my criteria out there. I ain't holding out forever. Um, we will see you guys tonight on Too Strong. What do you mean by who is the best? I'm confused by the question. Thank you guys for being here, for listening. Um, I hope that you pursue him full-heartedly for who he is and not for what you want him to be. We're working on that still, Brandy. And let him do what he's got to do. Let him put to death your old man and give you his life. Love you guys. Mean it. Have a grand rest of the day. Again, bottom of the screen. Another day, another option. And if you have any more questions, Karen, please reach out. The inbox isn't closed now that I've addressed this. That's not the way it works. You can inbox me still if you need more questions answered about anything. If I wasn't clear about something, inbox me and we can talk. I'm going to direct you to the same location, but if there's an easier way or clearer way for me to help you get there, I'll do what I can to get you that info. Wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on yourself and no way. Believe